welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kanessa Carey. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Even if you're not new here, thank you for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the lotion in the back. That's just gonna stay there because I don't care. Today, we are going to talk about anxiety, and this topic has been highly suggested. A lot of people really wanted me to make this video, so I'm super excited about that. Today we're going to talk about 8 things not to say to someone who's struggling with anxiety, and then at the end of this video I'm going to give you 5 things that you can say instead of these other 8 things to just kind of give you an idea of like what helps when people are struggling with anxiety and what they would rather hear than those 8 things that I'm going to tell you beforehand. So stick around to the end just to hear what those 5 things are. I think they're super helpful. If you have said these things before, please do not feel bad about yourself. Do not get down on yourself. Give yourself some grace. But if these are things that you have said in the past, do not worry, do not fret. I'm going to give you some other things that you can say. So a lot of times when someone is struggling with anxiety, they feel a lot of shame. They might feel people won't understand them, and maybe they've been invalidated in the past. And so that can make it actually super hard for someone with anxiety to open up. So we're just gonna get right into the different things you should not say to someone who is struggling with anxiety. The first thing that is not helpful to someone who is struggling with anxiety, please do not say it is all in your head. Let me just give you a few reasons. One, they realize that a lot of it is in their head. Yes, a lot of anxiety is in that person's head, but it is a very real experience and something that is not only going on in their head, but is probably a body experience, an outward experience for them. It is something that they are dealing with, not just in their head. Is that where it stemmed from? Probably. But saying it's all in your head is basically saying what that person already knows. So in saying it's all in your head, you're invalidating that person and making them not feel safe, making them feel frustrated, making them not feel heard. And that is the opposite of what you want to do when you are helping someone or trying to understand what someone is going through when they are struggling with anxiety. The second thing that is not helpful to hear when you are struggling with anxiety, everyone feels stressed sometimes. Girl, listen. That is a true statement, but stress and anxiety are 2 very different things. Just to break down the difference between stress and anxiety, here we go. So if you wanted to, you could Google the difference between stress and anxiety, but I'm just gonna kind of give you my definition because everyone experiences stress. Stress is a normal human reaction to things that happen in our lives, aka the fight or flight response. Stress is usually a response to something that is happening in your external environment. So you may feel stressed because of a situation you are in, or it's something that you're externally motivated or presented with, and stress is your internal response to then help you go and achieve that or do that thing or whatever it is. Anxiety is something that can linger longer. So anxiety could maybe not have a specific trigger or something. Sometimes anxiety has no cause and you can feel anxiety and not know the reason why you're feeling anxiety. Unfortunately, stress and anxiety have a lot of similar symptoms, and so it is hard to kind of figure out which one is stress and which one is anxiety. But I think the simplest way that I can put it is stress usually is a reaction to a trigger that is short term. So you're not going to just continually, constantly, all the time feel stress. While anxiety, on the other hand, can be triggered by stress, but usually it's something that doesn't go away once you complete a task or once you've overcome something or once you've done something. Usually anxiety continues to linger, continues to bother you, and sometimes doesn't have a trigger. From those definitions, we can see why it can be detrimental or not helpful to tell someone, don't you worry, everyone feels stressed sometimes. And not to say that stress is not a valid experience or something that people struggle with, but anxiety is something that is perpetual, doesn't always go away when you think it should. It's not necessarily going to go away once you complete a task or once you do the thing that was making you anxious. It's just really not a helpful statement or something that is going to help someone feel good about the situation they are experiencing. The third thing that I would not recommend saying to someone who is struggling with anxiety is giving them advice of what they should do. So for example, have you tried yoga? Have you tried meditation? Have you tried seeing a therapist? Have you tried taking medication? Have you tried going for a walk? Have you tried listening to music? Chances are, if someone has been struggling with anxiety for a while, they have tried literally everything. And even if some of those things work and some of those things are coping skills or tools that they have in their back pocket that they pull out every once in a while when they are dealing with anxiety, and maybe they've tried all those things and maybe they have not helped. Sometimes saying stuff like that is not going to help someone because maybe in that moment those things just aren't helpful and they just need to talk. Yeah, it can be super nice to suggest something to someone, but when someone is dealing with anxiety, that's usually probably not the first thing they want to hear. The fourth thing, this fourth thing, you should definitely never, 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 please do not ever say this to anyone who's struggling with anything, and that is calm down and get over it. What? This is something we definitely should never say to anyone who's dealing with literally anything on this planet, especially when someone is struggling with anxiety. One, they cannot calm down, because if they could, they would have already. And two, they can't just get over it, because anxiety is not something that you can just like get over and be like, you're right, I should just calm down and get over it. Let's go get some chips and salsa. Like, no, that was, okay. When someone is struggling with something, it's not just something that you can immediately calm yourself down and talk yourself out of like all the thoughts and your mind racing and your heart racing and shortness of breath and like all this stuff. Usually those things are not something that you can just stop and be like, girl, you need to calm down and get over it, because it's just not, please don't say that to people. It's just not, that's really just not helpful. I really don't have anything else to say about that, except for that it's just like not helpful. That is the last thing they need to or want to hear. The fifth thing is you're getting anxious over nothing. Let's just rewind a little bit. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's like pretty common in people who have anxiety. But that's like one of people's fears is, oh my gosh, are people gonna invalidate me? Are they gonna think that I'm being dramatic? Are they gonna think that I'm just reacting to nothing, that I'm getting anxiety for no reason? All this kind of stuff. That is like a major like fear that is constantly like knocking on the door of my anxiety and be like, people aren't gonna believe you, people are gonna think you're crazy. And hearing someone say to you, you're getting anxious over nothing, that just validates that fear and feeds into that fear, and then that fear becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they're not gonna go get help from people, and that's just like the opposite of what we want people to do. Everyone's feelings and everyone that feels anxiety and experiences anxiety, that is so valid, and they're getting anxious for a reason. And even if you don't understand that reason, or you think that someone is getting anxious over nothing, you don't understand what's going on inside their head, inside their body, and what they're feeling and what they're experiencing. So just be there for them and try your best to understand, and try your best to just like talk with them and be with them. That's really like, that's a way better option, I think. The sixth thing not to say to someone who's struggling with anxiety, everything is going to be okay. And I know, okay, please hear me out. I know this is a very common saying. While you may know, because you're not the one struggling with something, you may be able to be positive and like have that point of view of like everything is gonna be okay. That is the last thing that person is feeling and the last thing they want to hear, because to them, nothing in that moment feels okay, and maybe nothing that day has felt okay, and maybe nothing that week has felt okay. That saying invalidates what the person is feeling, because they then in turn, when they hear that, is like, okay, well, do they not understand what I'm feeling? I don't feel like it's gonna be okay. I don't feel okay right now. I don't know when I'm gonna feel okay. It's not something that's super helpful or encouraging to that person, but I understand that when people say those things, they are coming from a place of encouragement. But when someone is in the middle of dealing with anxiety, that's just not something that is super encouraging to them. The seventh thing is, I know exactly how you feel. No, you don't. Even if you are someone who has struggled with anxiety or does struggle with anxiety, that does not mean you know exactly how they feel. Just because someone has gone through something similar than you, or feels something similar than you, or has the same diagnosis as you, or like whatever the situation may be, it doesn't mean you know exactly how they feel, because everyone feels things differently, everyone experiences things differently. It's best just not to say that, even if you have struggled with something that's super similar and maybe you do understand or you do know how they feel, but just remember that you're never going to know exactly how someone feels. So it's always just better to let them tell you what they feel, then you can better help them, because if you just go off of your experiences, you're probably not going to be able to help them very well. Okay, and this last one is a bit controversial, but I figured I would just throw it in there. But this one is number 8. Just pray more. And this is something that I've not gotten into very much, but it's something I am very passionate about. But I think a lot of times in the church and in religious situations and in the Christian culture, when it comes to mental illness and mental health, we sometimes dive right into being like, oh, well, maybe like your relationship with God isn't very good, or you're not a good Christian, or you need to pray more, or just give it to God, or cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. That's a great verse. Do I know the reference off the top of my head? No, but it's a great verse, okay? okay? I am all for going to God for everything that you're dealing with, especially when it comes to mental illness, especially when it comes to anything. We are human. We live on Earth, and Earth sucks. I think we all can agree with that right now, that the world we live in is just, whew, that's for another day, another time, another talk. I'm not saying that if we pray more or we give it to God or we surrender whatever we are going through to God, that is not going to heal you or fix the issue or help you with what you're going through. That is not what I'm saying at all. I totally believe that God will help you with whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're dealing with, and it's always good to go to Him for all of your needs first and foremost. But hear me out. God has given us resources, people that we can see, and things that can help us get to a better place so that we can just function better in this life. Because a lot of times, the things we're going through, as much as it would be amazing for God to just snap His fingers, which He could, make all of our struggles go away, make all of the anxiety go away. Like, if God would do that to me, I've prayed that before, okay? And God is still teaching me things apparently, because He has not done that yet, but it's fine. I've come to terms with it. It's okay. God has given us so many resources, and we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we did not use those resources, because God ultimately has given us those resources. He obviously is the ultimate resource, but He has given us therapists, books, just literally everything to help us with the things that we struggle with here on Earth. And we live in a world that is full of things that we don't want to deal with. God has given us those resources. He is the ultimate resource, but He has given other resources underneath Him for us to be able to overcome and get through the things that we're struggling with on this earth until we meet Him in heaven. So let's just, and I'm gonna get off my TED Talk here. The end. Okay, so now that I've covered all of the 8 things not to say to someone who's struggling with anxiety, I'm going to give you 5 quick phrases that you can say to someone who is struggling with anxiety, just so that I'm not leaving you hanging, because I feel like it would be rude to just tell you all these things not to say and then not give you, the things to say. Not just doesn't make sense, okay? The first one is, how can I help you? Sometimes they might not know. Sometimes that person doesn't know just because they're so overwhelmed. So that leads me to the next thing that you could say. Do you want me to give you advice or tell you what I think, or do you want me to just listen? Sometimes all that person needs is really just to get everything off their chest, and then sometimes they do want advice. The third thing, hey, I've noticed lately that it seems like you've been struggling a little bit more than usual, and I'm kind of concerned. That's you just expressing your concern and just being real with them and raw with them. That sometimes can just open the door for that person to be like, oh wow, like someone notices, someone cares. Honestly, sometimes when I'm struggling with anxiety so much, I go around and around in my head until I'm like so overwhelmed that I break down. I get to that place because I don't know how to start the conversation with people. So sometimes you starting the conversation for that person can be so helpful. The fourth thing you could say to someone is literally just to validate what they're experiencing. It's okay if you do not understand at all what they're going through. It's okay if you have never experienced what they're going through, but just to be there to validate what they're experiencing and just to be with them, it means so much just to be validated. So to just validate them and be there for them is really one of the best things that you can do. And the final thing, the fifth thing that you can say to someone who's struggling with anxiety is, I'm always here for you. Just that person knowing that, like, hey, this is someone that I can always go to when I'm struggling with something, because they said that they were always here for me. They really validated my emotions. They really validated what I was experiencing. And to have someone who is a safe space and a safe place is honestly one of the best things that someone who's struggling with mental illness can experience and have. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this gave you like a better idea of what to say and what not to say to someone who is struggling with anxiety, or really just any mental illness or anything, really. I think this is just pretty universal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe. Comment down below if there's any other videos that you want to see or something that you're interested in me talking about. I would really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.